Hello and welcome to John's Author Diary for the weekend in June 17th, 2018. I've had a much better week. Last week I felt a bit down in the dumps because of pulling Blind Reset from pre-order and having a reassessment of what my future schedule is going to be in terms of writing. So I managed to write the first novelette in my epic fantasy series. So this is a book that I'm going to give away for free to kind of get people interested in the series. It's called The Fool. And I've been really pleased with how the story's coming together, how it's going. Even my wife, who isn't usually a fan of fantasy and science fiction, said that it was one of the best things I've written. So I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So I've realised because of my scheduling over the next few weeks, I'm going to have a day less for writing on most weeks because of one reason or another. So travelling and teacher training days and my son's sports day and things like that. So I did want to have two of the novellas written by the start of the school summer holidays, but the way it's looking, I'll be pleased if I get one done. I was talking on Facebook to an author called Susan K. Quinn. She's doing pretty much what I want to do with my series. So she's doing a series called Dragon School, and she's releasing these novellas on a monthly basis, and I seem to be doing very well for her. And these are kind of in that young adult epic fantasy kind of genre, which is exactly where I'm looking to be. And she was saying that her first book in the series was 25,000 words and then the rest of them 20. So I'm going to look to being around that ballpark in terms of word count. I think the first book in my series might be slightly longer, but we'll see. So it was definitely a good idea to pull back on the Blind Reset project. And I've had some really nice support over the week from fellow authors, so thanks to Paul Teague and Claire Hardiger who've given me words of encouragement about this, so thank you. I've been reading a book called Everyday Life in Elizabethan London this week. This is obviously a non-fiction book, which I'm using just to get some of the nitty-gritty details to add to my fantasy world building. So having things like a description of the bed has been really useful. So I would recommend doing something like that if you are a fantasy writer and want to get those little details in that make the world so much richer. I've also started reading Brandon Sanderson's Oathbringer, so I'm about 12 chapters into that. It's a massive audio book, it's about 55 hours, so I think it's going to take me some time to get through this one. But so far so good. I love the series, I love the author. Claire Hardiger sent me a question this week. Now, I've mentioned her before. She does the Confessions of a First-Time Author podcast, which is, again, a similar format to what I'm doing here, so a kind of author diary thing. And hers comes out every 2 weeks, so check that out. It's really interesting. You've even got a cameo by yours truly getting in there with the first question. She got in touch with me on Twitter at JL Cronshaw. She said, great episode. Really felt for you about Blind Reset. Sounds like the right decision from what you were saying. I'm curious. Feel free to say it's none of my business. You said you planned for Blind Gambit to be a one-off. Did you do a sequel because you enjoyed it more than you expected, or because fans wanted it, or you felt you should, or some other reason? Yeah, to be honest, it is none of your business. No. So there are basically two reasons for this. The first one is I had what I thought was a good idea for the second book. I still think that the video game side of the book will work well as a story. I felt that the real world story was a little bit lacking, and it's the real world stuff that is important to me with this stuff. And I think the other reason was greed. I did really well with the pre-orders on Blind Gambit and it had a very successful launch. It hit #1 in quite a few categories. It did very well. And I think because I saw these pre-orders coming in, that there was a lot of interest in the book, that it would be foolish not to do a second title for a business decision. And now I've never been an author to write to market. You know, my Wasteland series is probably confusing to a lot of post-apocalyptic readers because it's not set in the real world. It relies on fantasy tropes. It's written in the present tense. And Blind Gambit, even though it is game-lit, it's also about disability. And so I think the mistake I made is setting out to write a book which was primarily a financial decision. If I'm thinking about it in purely business terms, then yeah, I've left some money on the table here. But I don't know, I think it's taught me about me as a writer, about what my priorities are, about where my line is artistically. And I don't know whether you want to call it integrity or ego or even arrogance. I don't know, but it was a good lesson. And I think what it's made me realise is, yes, I do want to be able to sustain myself financially as an author, because writing books is a lot of hard work. And it's something that I can do as someone with a disability and not get preferential treatment or discrimination or anything else. It is based on quality of my work, and it's about the quality of my marketing. It's about my ability to reach readers. So the lesson is for me is I'm not going to write any books in the future that are led business first. They are going to be led art first, because I felt very lazy trying to write that book when my heart wasn't quite in it. So I hope that answers your question. Remember, if you've got a question you want to ask me, you can ask me on Twitter. It's at JLCronshaw. Or you can email me. It's john@johncronshaw.com. Because Wizard of the Wasteland came out a year ago this week, I've currently got an offer on where you can get the entire Wasteland series box set. That's 3 books for 99p, 99 cents on Amazon. So if you've not checked out any of my stuff before, hey, you can have a binge on that and it'll cost you next to nothing. So until next time, cheerio.